All right, back on YouTube. So this is the 2001 Chevy. I don't know that it's a Silverado. I think it's some kind of base model. Basically, we replaced the doors. These doors were pretty clean. A few things to touch up, like right there. And see a spot down here, whatever that is, grind that off and clean it up. His doors were soft underneath. Here's the fender. See what we did here? Everything is in really, really good shape. Even down here, the metal's nice and thick. But right here, it was getting a little thin from surface rust. So just to make sure, we made this panel, welded it on. There's some surface down there I got to clean up and treat. First well, once we clean it up, if anything's thin, we might just make a piece there like we did the other side. We're going to put, I think, a used bumper on the front. There's lots of those available, and they're pretty clean. On the back bumper's trash. We're just going to basically do a brand new one in the box. All the plastic brackets. Let's literally cut this off the frame. The other one will bolt right in place. This side was okay. The other side we did some door pins. His grill was a little funny and bashed up. I had another one, not awesome, but it clips in good. It's nice. Little chrome coming undone, but the other one was that way. He had a broken signal light. We threw one in. They're both faded about the same, so at least they'll look consistent. The fender on this side, little paint peel, but it's pretty nice. The bottom here, they have a pocket in behind, so you can see the panel. So I welded it up that edge. You can see where there's some little dots on there. That's from where I first screwed the panel on. You can use screws or Clecos. It'll do the same thing. And then here you'll see there's a hole lip in there. This is a fairly inexpensive job. So the bodywork is so-so, but look, it's going to be smooth. The truck will be blue. It's going to look good. This door is absolutely nice inside and out. Little surface on the back corner, I think. Rocker on the other side is good. They had been replaced. This one, however, it's kind of crusty, but we're just going to replace it because the top of it was bad and the floor was bad. So we had to put a piece through here and a whole floor pan in there. And I mean, it wasn't the whole floor pan. It was just basically in between all the bracing. So basically we cut it off flush and it sat right on the bracing. All the mounts bracing underneath of this cab is really good. Cab corners are fine. They've been replaced. A little bit of surface there from where they had the moldings. The moldings are rough. I'm probably not going to put them back on. It had kind of just the door and the front of the box, so it looked like they weren't missing, but I think it was just a lower end truck. Oh, I guess it is a Silverado. There we go. But so we got nice doors. I got the rubbers off. I'd like to paint so that I'll probably pull that rubber off too, or at least hang it inside. But yeah, so that's what we're working on today. Then the box. The box was trashed, and I've got a nice box. But the box that I have needs a little bit of a patch, I guess, on the driver's side. There's a bit of crustiness on there, but everything's thick. There's no cracks or breaks when you look around. It was a Western truck. Let's see. Oh, there you go. I'm in Ontario, but yeah, this was brought back from Alberta. The guy's a pipeline guy, so that would explain that. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. It's really not going to be a lot of body work to do. Up above the windshield isn't all blistered and rotten. The front of the hood, that's just some dirt. But there's some chips, stone chips. But he had a bugger on here, and nothing's rotten on the hood, even underneath. But I think what happened is when he first bought the truck, it's a one owner. The guy bought it new in 01. Yeah, so basically the truck was used out there when it was newer, I guess, back and forth a little bit. And as time went on, he had a new truck out west, and then here back home in Ontario, He's got a newer truck that he'll drive, and you know, they get traded in and whatnot. But he always kept this one up here because he liked it. So it didn't see many winters. So the frame has some rust, but well, it also has some black paint left. It's real thick. It's not all as bad as some of them get. But anyway, yeah, we're just doing doors in a box, fix the rocker, and fix it up, and we can continue driving it. So I might show you some videos on that. And I showed this other car here in another video earlier today, but let's have a look at this. So this is coming up. I'm gonna attempt to do a lot of videos on this car. It's a 1969 Satellite Sport Satellite. For you Mopar guys out there are picky, don't want to make anyone unhappy. So let's have a good look. Grill has a nice grill in it. Sport Satellite still there. Chrome on the bumper's fair. Now this would have been a bucket seat console power window car, being a Sport Satellite, but they well, this one had a 318, so I don't know what they all had. But he's got a 440 Super Commando, and this thing is cammed, and it is a beast. This is not an original car. So the owner who had this car back in the early 70s, he bought the car when it was a few years old and a little beat up, and did the 440 thing. If you're wondering about the yellow, it's not your Mopar yellow. It is a 69 Corvette yellow, I believe he said. I have the paint code here. But, you know, he did do the Chrysler thing. He did the whole engine bay, which is pretty clean. New floors, new frame rails, the whole bottom of the car is new. The trunk pans are new. I think the aprons are original, but the frame on the driver's side down low, something's been replaced down there. The front fender on this side is actually off of a 68 because he couldn't find a good one. It had been got mangled, so he had to actually cut that out of the old fender and weld it in, because I guess in 68 they got a little round light. But we've got some crazy work to do on this. You can see how the top of the door is way out, so that's bad. And I mean, he did do quarters. I don't think the quarter's out by much though, maybe a little bit. But he had this door reskinned, and we feel that it may be warped. So if I adjust it for the back to be nice, you sort of run out of room here, and that's already pretty tight, and down there. So I didn't do any of the work on this car. This car just rolled in. So this is, I guess, just an introduction to the, yeah, he's got these big old fat meats on the, check it out. This thing was a beast. It really is. And there's your back end. You can see where the trunk lid doesn't quite match. So at one time this rolled off a trailer with no bumper, or so I'm told, and there's a piece under here that it pushed in. So we're gonna have to take the trunk lid off, make a couple of clamps, maybe out of wood or something, to grab it and pull it out till these fit better, and we can align those. This was a car that the owner bought and played with when he was younger, and his wife at the time loved this car. At some point, for whatever reason, they sold the car, and this guy, he's a Mopar guy. He's got like probably a dozen cars. He actually has a 68, or is it a 69 GTX with a real high-end restoration on it. But there's your satellite console, working lights. He's got to do something with the power window wiring. I think he's got a different harness for it. But there's your original interior. The buckets. He did add the horn emblem. I don't know if you can see that. It's got the Roadrunner head in it. And it does have the purple horn. But basically, yeah, so they owned the car, they sold the car, and 20 some years later, it had gone through a whole bunch of owners, but no one had actually fixed it up. It just sort of decayed away, and it was still in the guy's name, which is kind of cool. And this is, ironically, the 63 Cadillac. Same thing happened with that car. A guy sold it, and 20 some years later, he bought it back, and all kinds of paperwork and receipts and stacks, but it turned out to be the same car, so in the same guy's name. Anyhow, this is pretty cool. Mechanically, it's good. The underneath is good. The trunk pans, I mean, he's replaced everything underneath the car. So there was a lot of weird things that happened. There's a full quarters. I believe he said they were welded up in here. So he said there's probably a little bit of Bondo in here. We're not going to do a crazy resto on this one. We're basically going to make things line up half decent, finish her out to paint it yellow. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I wish my shop was a little bigger just for taking videos. But yeah, she's a... This is my favorite Mopar body. So it's going to be hard to give this one back. You probably see in a lot of these videos where guys do templates, how to make stuff. You can also use them as a gauge. So here's a piece of cereal box. There's nothing complicated about that. You can buy cereal anywhere. This was made to do this. So the door's not totally out of shape, but this fender definitely is. There's a gap there. So this isn't out, this is in. And when you get close, it's hard to see on camera, but you can see where it got pushed in right here a little bit. So we're gonna have to take the fender off. There's a back brace behind that. We're gonna have to put the round back in it till it matches the door. I think what I'm going to do with the door, because like I say, that back's got to go in. So along the back edge, and we're a little worried about the welds in here. The guy he hired to do the skin went a little crazy with the seam sealer. Look at that. It's now the owner says that Dodge didn't even seam seal these cars, so that's really weird. So we're going to have to pull all that out and basically cut whatever welds he's got underneath it so that it can flex. So we can basically, I'll have to build a little bit of a jig, mount the door to the jig, and then this measurement right here, we're gonna have to twist the inner part of the door that amount. And the reason we're gonna take two sides, possibly three, but at least two, it'll allow the skin to float when we move the inner panel and give it a little twist. Then when we pinch it and weld it back together, it should straighten right out. Because this, you know, you can't live with that. People, oh, I just knocked this at whatever. Just, we're going to do it so that this closes nice and things work. The gaps, to me, are important. The gap this way, not bad till you get to the very bottom. Might have to do a little cut down here. Basically cut right in, because that's all new anyway. Hammer it back so nothing will rub down the road. You know, you want this to last, gosh, I don't know, maybe 20 years. The hood fits on pretty good. This door fits on a little better. It looks like it's got to be raised up a bit. You know, that's got to go in and stuff like that. The worst of it, though, however they did this fender, now he told me that they cut it back here somewhere all the way down. You know, you can feel some warpage there, but I don't know if that's what they did or not, because it's, you can feel, I wonder if I can catch it. There you go. You can see how that's a little bit misshapen. But if you come down here, like, I don't know if you remember the red dart. I had some videos on a dart swinger. Similar thing, someone had put a patch and they lapped it and see what happens. So I'm probably going to cut here. Gosh, this one's going to have to come up pretty high. I'm running out of room, but you can see it. So I'm going to cut the difference out, knock that back, and then weld it back shut, because I don't want no more gap, you know, than what's here. You got to get it close to the same. You know, people like different gaps, you know, the paint stick. But look at the car, how it fits together, and what you can live with. It's a pretty big car up at the top. It's not really a big gap, but once we adjust the door, I have a feeling that'll close. We'll have to fix that. This gap isn't terrible, but it's also not. Yeah, we'll probably loosen the fenders. But once we have the doors where they fit pretty nice, the fenders, in this case, it's going to be difficult. What I like to do is the rear quarters, or the door plates behind them, those don't move. So you adjust the door to the quarter, and once you get that on both sides, your front fenders are adjusted to the door. And when you put the hood on, you can always give one fender a tweak up or down or whatever, but usually it'll land. But this car, he said, was so bad, every floor pan, all the bracing underneath was redone. So there's a good chance that things aren't quite right on this car. This is not your pristine beauty. This is a car that, you know, for 20 years went through about half a dozen owners. Sometimes it was inside, sometimes it was outside. It had been trailered and moved and half tore apart. So by the time he got it back, and like he said, the car was floppy. So he's done a pretty reasonable job getting it straight. He showed it to me at his shop, and everything is square. The car tracks well, it aligns fine. So mechanically, this thing is a turnkey car. This is pull out and do burnouts all day long. So we're going to do a video series on this. The truck I showed you earlier is basically just for the next few weeks. I got my dad's Rumblebee. All the parts are in the booth. We're going to finish that up too. But once we start hitting, say, end of November, December, we're going to start on the Cadillac, and we're going to work on the Satellite. By January, I'll also have a a 77 Corvette in here, which we're gonna redo some floor work, and we'll probably do we're gonna do a frame swap. The whole reason the car's here, it needs a frame. It's a car I've kind of neglected and left to the side, and we're also looking for, if anyone has one, hit me up. I'm looking for, if you're in Ontario, we're thinking a transmission, maybe a 5-speed or whatever they had in the late 90s, early 2000 Camaros and Firebirds, which we'd like to retrofit into the Corvette because he'd like an overdrive. Some guys have offered up IROC Z transmissions and whatnot, but apparently they don't do well with horsepower. So I figure if we go to the Cat's Eye Camaro, we should be good. If we got to cut the tunnel, so be it. But yeah, if you have one of those, hit me up, because a 5-gear would be good. He's got like a 350 in there. The guy that originally owned the car passed away, so we don't know what's done to the 350, but it has a lot of go. So I don't think the Z28 or IROC Z-Tran is going to do it. I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's some way you can build them to make them better, and if that's the case, I'm not a mechanic. Let me know. Any advice would be great. I'm a metal fab guy, you know, body and paint to some degree. So anyway, that's what's coming up. Just wanted to do a bit of an update and show you what's coming up. Thanks for watching. Cheers.